Dr. Elena Martinez rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the clock on her computer screen. 3 in the morning. She had been sitting in the control room of the Arecibo successor array for 12 straight hours, listening to the same empty static that filled the space between stars. Most nights were like this. Long, quiet, and filled with nothing but the background noise of the universe. She reached for her coffee mug and found it empty, cold. She had forgotten to drink it again. Elena stood up to stretch her back when something changed on her monitors. The steady pattern of random noise suddenly broke. A new signal appeared on her screen, strong and clear. Elena sat back down fast. Her heart started beating harder. In 15 years of searching for signs of alien life, she had never seen anything like this. The signal was not natural. It had structure, it had purpose. Someone or something was trying to communicate. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. She ran the signal through every filter and analysis program she had. The patterns became clearer. This was not just random information, this was language. Complex, organized, and desperate, Elena picked up her phone and called her team. Within an hour, 3 other scientists had arrived at the facility. Dr. James Peterson. The facility director looked at the data with wide eyes. Dr. Sarah Kim, their computer specialist, ran the signal through translation programs. Dr. Michael Torres, their physics expert, analyzed the transmission method. "This is impossible," Peterson said. "The signal is coming from the Vega system. That's 25 light-years away. How are we receiving it in real time?" Torres checked his calculations again. "They're using some kind of quantum entanglement network. The technology is far beyond anything we have." Kim looked up from her computer. "I've got partial translation. Give me another hour and I should have most of it decoded." Elena paced around the room. Her mind raced with possibilities. First contact. After decades of searching, they had finally found proof that humans were not alone in the universe. But something felt wrong. The signal had an urgent quality that made her stomach twist with worry. Kim's translation program beeped. "Got it," she said. "The message is from something called the Kithara Collective. They're asking for help." The room went silent. Elena read the translation on Kim's screen. The words made her blood run cold. "To any civilization capable of receiving this message, we are the Kithara Collective of the Vega system. Our worlds are under attack by the Zephyrian Empire. They have destroyed 4 of our colonies. Millions of our people are dead or enslaved. We have tried to defend ourselves, but we are a peaceful people. We have no weapons of war. We have no soldiers. We need help. If anyone can hear this message, please respond. We are running out of time." The message repeated every 30 minutes. Each transmission included coordinates, technical data about the attacking force, and increasingly desperate pleas for assistance. Peterson was the first to speak. "We need to contact the government immediately. This is way above our authority level." Elena continued reading the translations. The Kithara described themselves as a peaceful alliance of plant-eating species. They had advanced technology in medicine, agriculture, and space travel, but they had never developed military weapons. Their entire civilization was built on cooperation and mutual aid. The Zephyrian Empire was different. According to the Kithara, they had been conquering worlds across their local region for hundreds of years. They used advanced weapons and showed no mercy to the species they defeated. They took prisoners as slaves and strip-mined conquered planets for resources. "There's more," Kim said, pointing to a new section of the message. "They're warning us about something." Elena read the new translation out loud. The Zephyrians classify worlds by their danger level. Most civilized species live on what they call garden worlds. Planets with mild weather, low gravity, and few predators. The Zephyrians consider these species easy to conquer, but they also have records of death worlds. Planets so dangerous that any species surviving there would be extremely hostile. Earth is classified as a death world in their database. Torres looked confused. Why would they tell us that? Elena kept reading. "They say the Zephyrians will come for Earth eventually. They always do. But they might wait because they considered Deathworld species too dangerous to fight unless necessary. The implications hit everyone in the room at the same time. These aliens were not just asking for help. They were warning Earth about a threat that might come whether humans help them or not. Peterson picked up the secure phone line to contact the Pentagon. While he made the call, Elena continued monitoring the signals. More messages were coming through. Battle reports. Casualty numbers. Desperate updates from the last free Cathara world. The final free planet was called Cathara Prime, home to over 8 billion beings. The messages indicated that Zephyrian ships were already in the system. Ground forces had landed on 3 of the planet's 5 continents. The Cathara military, what little existed, was falling back to their capital city. Kim translated the most recent message. Her voice shook as she read it. This may be our final transmission. Zephyrian forces are advancing on our position. We estimate 12 hours before they reach the city center. To whoever receives this message, remember us. Remember that we tried to warn the galaxy about the Zephyrians. Maybe no one listened to people from Garden Worlds. Maybe they will listen to voices from a Death World. Elena stared at the screen. 8 billion people were about to die or be enslaved, and they were using their last hours to warn a species they had never met about a danger that might come years or decades later. Peterson finished his phone call. Military command is sending a team here within the hour. They want all our data copied and ready for analysis. Elena nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. She was thinking about the courage it took to send warnings to strangers while your own world was dying. She was thinking about the Cathara children who would never grow up free. She was thinking about Earth's response to this crisis. The phone rang. Peterson answered it and listened for several minutes. When he hung up, his face was grim. Commander Jake Sullivan from the Stellar Defense Corps is coming here personally. He wants to hear the messages directly from us. The government is calling an emergency session to decide how to respond. Elena looked at the star map on her wall. Somewhere out there, peaceful people were dying because they could not defend themselves. Somewhere out there, an empire built on conquest was growing stronger with each victory. She wondered what humanity would choose to do. Earth had never faced a test like this before. The choice they made would define not just their future, but their character as a species. The signal from Vega continued to broadcast its desperate plea into the darkness of space, hoping someone would answer. Commander Jake Sullivan stood in the White House Situation Room, watching world leaders argue through video screens. 3 days had passed since the Cathara message reached Earth, 3 days of endless debate while billions of innocent people died in a star system 25 light-years away. "We cannot risk human lives for aliens we have never met," said the German Chancellor. "Our first duty is to protect Earth." The Chinese Premier nodded in agreement. "We have no proof these Zephyrians will actually attack us. This could be a trap." Sullivan clenched his fists. He had spent his entire career preparing for threats to Earth, but no one had prepared him for the frustration of watching politicians debate while genocide happened in real time. President Collins finally spoke up. "Commander Sullivan, what is your recommendation?" Sullivan looked at the assembled leaders. "We send a reconnaissance mission. 1 ship, fast and quiet. We gather intelligence about this conflict and assess the threat to Earth." The Russian president shook his head. "Too dangerous. If they capture our ship, they learn about Earth's location and capabilities." "They already know about Earth," Sullivan replied. "The Cathara message mentioned us specifically. The Zephyrians have classified our planet as a death world. They know we exist." After 2 more hours of argument, the leaders finally agreed to Sullivan's plan. Captain Lisa Rodriguez would take the UES Defiance, Earth's newest stealth reconnaissance ship, to observe the situation in the Vega system. Rodriguez had volunteered immediately when she heard about the mission. She was one of Earth's best pilots, and had commanded deep space missions for 5 years. Her crew of 12 specialists included experts in alien technology, communications, and combat analysis. The Defiance launched from Luna Station 48 hours later. The ship used Earth's Most advanced faster than light drive, but the journey to Vega still took 6 days. During the trip, Rodriguez and her team studied every piece of data about the Cathara and Zephyrians. Dr. Amy Walsh, the mission's xenobiologist, made disturbing discoveries about Zephyrian society. "They're not just conquerors," she told Rodriguez. During a briefing, "They're harvesters. They capture other species for biological experiments and forced labor. Some of their conquered populations have been enslaved for centuries." Lieutenant Commander Tom Brooks, the ship's intelligence officer, analyzed Zephyrian military tactics. "They use overwhelming force against civilian targets. Their strategy depends on terrorizing populations into surrender. They have never faced serious military resistance." When the Defiance reached the edge of the Vega system, what they found was even worse than the messages had described. 4 planets showed signs of massive orbital bombardment. Space around each world was filled with debris from destroyed ships and stations. Rodriguez ordered the ship to move carefully toward Cathara Prime. They needed to stay hidden while gathering intelligence about Zephyrian capabilities. The sight that greeted them made the entire crew fall silent. Cathara Prime was under siege. Hundreds of Zephyrian warships surrounded the planet. The surface showed the bright flashes of ongoing bombardment. Sections of the planet's cities were already burning. "My God," whispered Dr. Walsh. "How many people are down there?" "Sensors indicate approximately 6 billion life signs," reported Ensign Maria Santos, the ship's sensor specialist. "Down from 8 billion 3 days ago?" Rodriguez watched the tactical display with growing anger. The Zephyrians were not trying to capture the planet quickly. They were systematically destroying it section by section, broadcasting the destruction to terrorize the remaining population. Brooks monitored Zephyrian communications. "They're enjoying this. Listen to their transmissions. They're treating it like entertainment." The crew spent 3 days watching the systematic destruction of Cathara Prime. They recorded everything: Zephyrian ship designs, weapon capabilities, troop movements, and communication protocols. But most importantly, they witnessed something that changed their understanding of the conflict. On the 3rd day, they watched the Zephyrians overrun a Cathara refugee camp. The aliens used some kind of energy net to capture thousands of civilians alive. Men, women, and children were loaded onto transport ships like cargo. Dr. Walsh ran biological scans on the captured Cathara. "They're separating them by age and physical condition. The young and healthy ones are being taken to different ships." "Slave processing," Rodriguez said grimly. "They're not just killing them, they're harvesting them." The final message from Cathara Prime came on their 4th day in the system. It was transmitted on the same frequency that Cathara had used to contact Earth, but this time it was different. Shorter, more desperate. Dr. Walsh translated the message with tears in her eyes. "To the people of Earth, if you are listening, Cathara Prime has fallen. Our government is dead. Our military is destroyed. Millions of our people are being taken as slaves. We do not ask you to avenge us. We ask you to remember us. And we ask you to prepare. The Zephyrians will come for you next. They always do. We tried to warn the galaxy about them years ago, but no one would listen to people from garden worlds. Perhaps they will listen to voices from a death world." The transmission ended. Cathara Prime went silent forever. Rodriguez ordered the Defiance to remain in the system for 2 more days, gathering final intelligence. What they learned during those days would change everything. Brooks discovered that the Zephyrians had detailed files on thousands of species across the galaxy. Every civilization was classified by their threat level and resource value. Garden world species were marked for easy conquest. Death world species were marked as dangerous but valuable for their biological adaptations. Earth was not just on their list. It was marked as a high-priority target. "They plan to attack us within the next 5 years," Brooks reported. "They're currently building a specialized fleet designed to handle Death World resistance." Dr. Walsh made an even more disturbing discovery. While analyzing captured Zephyrian biological data, their soldiers are physically weak by human standards. They evolved on a low-gravity world with no major predators. Their bones are hollow like birds. Their cardiovascular systems cannot handle high-stress situations. Santos looked up from her sensor station. Their weapons are designed for fighting other garden world species. Low-powered energy beams that would be lethal to beings with thin skin and fragile organs. Rodriguez stared at the tactical analysis of Zephyrian military capabilities. Everything about their technology was optimized for fighting peaceful species that had never experienced real warfare. "They have never fought anyone like us," she said quietly. The journey back to Earth took another 6 days. During the trip, Rodriguez and her crew prepared their report. The evidence was clear. The Zephyrians were not just a threat to peaceful aliens. They were a threat to every free species in the galaxy. When the Defiance docked at Luna Station, Rodriguez was immediately transported to Washington for a debriefing. She stood before the same group of world leaders who had argued about the mission. 2 weeks earlier, this time, there was no argument. President Collins looked at the images from Cathara Prime. "How long do we have? 5 years at most," Rodriguez replied. "They're already building ships specifically designed to attack death worlds. When they come, they'll bring everything they have." The German chancellor who had opposed the mission now looked grim. "What do you recommend?" Rodriguez looked at each leader in turn. "We prepare for war. And we make sure that when the Zephyrians arrive, they get a proper welcome from a death world." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Earth was no longer debating whether to help distant aliens. Earth was preparing to defend itself against an enemy that had never lost a war. But first, they would have to decide what kind of species humanity wanted to be. The kind that watched genocide happen, or the kind that fought back. Dr. Alex Chin stared at the pieces of Zephyrian technology scattered across his laboratory table. The wreckage had been recovered from a damaged scout ship that Rodriguez's team had found drifting near Cathara Prime for 2 weeks. Chun had been taking apart every component, trying to understand how the enemy fought. What he discovered changed everything. Chun called Colonel Sam Harrison into his lab at Fort Detrick. Harrison commanded Earth's Rapid Response Military Engineering Unit, the group responsible for turning civilian technology into weapons of war. "Look at this," Chun said, holding up a Zephyrian energy rifle. "This weapon is designed to kill creatures with skin thickness of less than 2 millimeters. The energy output is calibrated for beings with calcium-based bones that are mostly hollow." Harrison picked up the weapon. It felt impossibly light in his hands. "How thick is human skin?" "Average of 4 millimeters. Our bones are solid calcium phosphate, not hollow calcium carbonate like most garden world species. This weapon would barely give a human a bad sunburn." Chun activated a holographic display showing Zephyrian armor specifications. Their personal protection is even more telling. The armor is designed to stop low-velocity projectiles and diffuse energy beams. Maximum expected impact force is about 50 pounds per square inch. Harrison whistled low. A human punch delivers over 700 pounds per square inch. A rifle bullet delivers over 40,000. Exactly. Their entire military doctrine is built around fighting species that evolved in peaceful environments. They have never encountered weapons designed by predators. Chun pulled up another display showing Zephyrian troop movement patterns. "Watch how they advance. Tight formations, slow and steady progress, minimal cover utilization. They rely on superior numbers and overwhelming firepower." "That formation would be suicide against human tactics," Harrison said. "Any squad with basic training could tear them apart." Chun nodded grimly. "There's more. I analyzed their combat stimulants and medical supplies. Their soldiers cannot function effectively in high-stress situations. Their cardiovascular systems shut down under extreme pressure. They literally cannot handle the kind of combat intensity that humans consider normal." Harrison left the lab with a new understanding of the enemy. He immediately called General Patricia Webb, Earth's Supreme Military Commander, and requested an emergency meeting with all branch chiefs. 2 hours later, Webb sat in the Pentagon's secure briefing room with the heads of every military service. Harrison presented Chen's findings to the assembled officers. "We are not facing a superior enemy," Harrison concluded. "We are facing an enemy that has never lost because they have never fought anyone who knows how to fight." Admiral Diana Torres, head of the Space Navy, looked at the tactical projections. "If their technology is this poorly suited for fighting humans, why haven't other species defeated them?" Webb answered that question. "Because other species are not human. They evolved on worlds where cooperation was more important than competition, where intelligence was used for building, not destroying, where survival meant working together, not killing everything that threatened you." General Roy Mitchell, head of the Army, studied the enemy ship designs. "Their vessels are built for intimidation, not actual combat. Look at these weapon placements. They have massive forward-firing arrays designed to terrorize populations from orbit, but minimal defensive systems. They have never needed defenses," Webb replied. "Garden world species surrender when they see the bombardment ships. They do not fight back." Colonel Marcus Williams, head of Special Operations, had been quiet during the briefing. Finally, he spoke up. "We need to see their reaction to real human combat. Theory is one thing. Practice is another," Webb nodded. "That brings us to the next phase of our preparation. We are going to field test our capabilities." She activated a star map showing the local galactic region. "Intelligence indicates that the Zephyrians have established a slave processing facility at Zarian Beta, 12 light-years from Earth. Approximately 50,000 beings from various conquered worlds are being held there." The room went silent. Everyone understood what Webb was suggesting. "This is not just a rescue mission," Webb continued. "This is a laboratory. We need to see how Zephyrians react to human warfare before they bring their full fleet to Earth." Admiral Torres looked at the tactical requirements. "We would need to modify civilian ships for military use. Our current fleet is not designed for offensive operations." "Already in progress," Harrison replied. "We have been converting cargo haulers and passenger ships for the past 2 weeks. The modifications are actually simpler than expected." Harrison showed them images of converted vessels. "Civilian ships built for Earth's harsh space environment are already more durable than Zephyrian warships. We just need to add weapons and improve the life support systems." Dr. Maria Santos, Earth's chief xenobiologist, had been studying the biological data from captured Zephyrian equipment. She joined the briefing to present her findings. "The enemy soldiers require specific atmospheric conditions to function effectively," Santos reported. "They need low oxygen, high humidity, and temperatures between 15 and 25 degrees Celsius. Outside those parameters, their physical performance drops significantly. Human soldiers can fight effectively in temperatures from -40 to +60 degrees, Williams noted. "In atmospheres ranging from pure oxygen to barely breathable. We are adapted for environmental extremes," Santos continued. "More importantly, Zephyrian psychology is not suited for prolonged combat. They are hive-minded beings who follow orders without question, but they panic when their command structure is disrupted. They have no experience with independent thinking." Under pressure, Webb looked around the room at her officers. "Gentlemen, we are not preparing to fight a superior enemy. We are preparing to fight bullies who have never been punched back." The meeting continued for 3 more hours. By the end, Earth's military leadership had a clear understanding of both the opportunity and the responsibility facing them. Lieutenant Kevin Brooks, recently promoted after his intelligence work with Rodriguez, was assigned to begin training programs for human soldiers using captured Zephyrian weapons. The results of the first training session shocked everyone involved. Human soldiers using Zephyrian energy rifles could fire them 3 times faster than the weapons were designed for. The recoil that would knock down a Zephyrian barely affected a human. Most significantly, humans could use the weapons accurately while moving, something Zephyrian combat doctrine considered impossible. Brooks reported his findings to Webb. "General, these weapons in human hands are not just effective. They are terrifying. A single human squad equipped with Zephyrian rifles could probably defeat a full Zephyrian company. Webb nodded slowly. The question is not whether we can defeat them. The question is whether we should. Ma'am? Webb looked out the window at the lights of Washington, D.C. We are about to unleash human warfare on a galaxy that has never seen it. Once we do that, we cannot take it back. Every species in known space will learn what humans are capable of when we are angry. Brooks considered this. The alternative is to let the Zephyrians continue conquering peaceful worlds until they decide to attack Earth. I know, Webb said quietly. But I want everyone to understand what we are about to become. We are not just going to war. We are going to teach the galaxy what war really means. The next morning, Webb signed the orders that would change Galactic. History, Operation Homecoming, would launch in 30 days. Its mission was simple: rescue the prisoners at Zarian Beta and send a message to the Zephyrian Empire. The message would be delivered in the only language that bullies understand, overwhelming force applied with precision and purpose. Earth's children were about to show the galaxy why their homeworld was classified as a death world. The demonstration would be educational for everyone involved. Admiral Diana Torres stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the stars shift as the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Around her, 15 converted civilian ships took formation. Each vessel had been transformed, from peaceful cargo hauler or passenger liner into a weapon of war. Zarian Beta is 3 million kilometers ahead, reported Captain Nicole Foster from the navigation station. Zephyrian ships detected, multiple contacts. Torres studied the tactical display. The enemy had not noticed the human fleet yet. Zephyrian sensors were designed to detect large energy signatures from Garden World ships. Human vessels running on efficient fusion reactors and minimal energy output appeared almost invisible to their detection systems. Status report from all ships, Torres ordered. One by one, the converted vessels reported ready for combat. The Use Freedom, formerly a mining ship, now carried enough firepower to level a city. The UES Justice, once a luxury passenger liner, had been converted into a troop transport carrying 300 human soldiers. Captain Roy Mitchell commanded the Justice. His troops were volunteers from every nation on Earth. They had trained for 3 weeks, using captured Zephyrian equipment and studying enemy tactics. More importantly, they had trained to fight in the cramped, dangerous conditions that humans called normal but other species found impossible. Enemy fleet composition? Torres asked. Foster read from her sensors. 12 Zephyrian warships in orbital position around the planet. Standard intimidation formation? They are broadcasting surrender demands to the slave facility on the surface. Torres smiled grimly. The Zephyrians were so confident in their superiority that they had not bothered to post scouts or maintain proper defensive positions. They had arranged their ships to look impressive, not to fight effectively. Signal all ships. Begin the attack. The human fleet accelerated toward Zarian Beta. The Zephyrian ships did not react until the humans were already within weapons range. By then, it was too late. The first Zephyrian ship to detect the approaching humans sent a standard challenge. Message. The translation appeared on Torres's screen. Unknown vessels, identify yourselves and state your business in Zephyrian space. Torres opened a communication channel to the enemy fleet. This is Admiral Diana Torres of the Earth Defense Force. You are guilty of genocide, slavery, and crimes against peaceful civilizations. Surrender now or be destroyed. The Zephyrian commander's response was immediate and predictable. Primitive Deathworld savages, you will be crushed like all the others. The Zephyrian ships opened fire with their massive energy weapons. Beams of concentrated plasma streaked across space toward the human fleet. The weapons were designed to instantly vaporize Garden World vessels with their thin hulls and delicate components. The energy beams struck the human ships and dissipated harmlessly against their armor. The converted cargo haulers had been built to survive asteroid impacts and solar radiation. Zephyrian weapons could not penetrate hulls designed for Deathworld. Industrial operations. Torres watched the enemy fire wash over her fleet without effect. Return fire, all weapons. The human response was devastating. Instead of massive energy weapons, human ships used kinetic projectiles. Railguns fired solid metal slugs at incredible velocity. Missile systems launched self-guided warheads with conventional explosive charges. The Zephyrian ships had never encountered kinetic weapons. Their shields were designed to deflect energy beams, not solid projectiles. The first volley of human fire tore through 3 enemy vessels, sending debris spinning into space. The remaining Zephyrian ships tried to retreat, but human tactical doctrine did not allow enemies to escape. The converted ships pursued the fleeing aliens, picking them off one by one with precise long-range fire. Within 20 minutes, the entire Zephyrian orbital fleet was destroyed. Not a single human ship had taken serious damage. "Prep the ground assault," Torres ordered. "Mitchell, take your people down to the surface." The UES Justice descended toward Zarian Beta while the other ships maintained orbital overwatch. The planet's surface showed the scars of Zephyrian strip mining operations. Massive facilities dotted the landscape surrounded by slave labor camps. Mitchell studied the target facility through the ship's sensors. Intelligence was correct, approximately 50,000 prisoners in the main compound. Guard force estimated at 2,000 Zephyrian ground troops. The Justice landed 2 kilometers from the target facility. Mitchell's soldiers deployed using standard human infantry tactics. They moved in small groups, using natural terrain for cover. Advancing on multiple routes to confuse the enemy, the Zephyrian ground forces had built their defenses. According to Garden World military doctrine, they expected enemies to advance in large formations across open ground. They had prepared for conventional siege warfare with static defensive positions. They had not prepared for human special operations. Tactics Sergeant Tony Martinez led the first assault team through the facility's maintenance tunnels. The tunnels were too narrow and dangerous for most species to navigate. Zephyrian engineers had designed them for automated maintenance robots, never imagining that biological beings would use them for infiltration routes. Martinez and his team moved through the tunnel system with night vision equipment and environmental suits. They reached the main power plant without being detected. Within minutes, they had planted explosive charges on the primary generators. Lieutenant Carlos Rivera led the second team in a direct assault on the guard towers. His soldiers used modified Zephyrian weapons that fired 3 times faster than the aliens could handle. The tower guards were eliminated before they could sound an alarm. The main assault began when Martinez detonated the power plant. The facility went dark, an emergency. Lighting cast eerie shadows across the compound. Zephyrian guards stumbled around in confusion, their night vision equipment failing in the unfamiliar darkness. Human soldiers moved through the facility like ghosts. They had trained for night operations their entire careers. Darkness was an advantage, not a hindrance. Captain Jennifer Walsh led the prisoner rescue operation. Her team had studied the facility layout and knew exactly where to find the slave quarters. They moved quickly through the compound, freeing prisoners and directing them to evacuation points. The freed slaves were a mix of species from across the galaxy. Kithara survivors who had been captured during the destruction of their homeworld. Gentle herbivores from a dozen different garden worlds. All of them had been brutalized by months or years of forced labor. Many of the prisoners could barely believe what they were seeing. Beings from a death world had come to rescue them. Predators from a hostile planet were risking their lives to save strangers. The Zephyrian commander tried to organize a counterattack, but human tactics made it impossible. Every time the aliens gathered their forces, human soldiers would strike from unexpected directions. The facility's own maintenance tunnels and service corridors became routes of attack. Within 2 hours, the entire facility was under human control. The Zephyrian garrison had been eliminated or captured. Not a single prisoner had been harmed during the rescue operation. Mitchell stood in the facility's command center, looking at the rescued aliens. Medical teams are treating the injured. Transport ships are en route to evacuate everyone. Dr. Amy Walsh, the mission's xenobiologist, was working with the medical teams. Most of the prisoners are malnourished but will recover. Some show signs of experimental procedures. Zephyrians were using them as test subjects. The rescued Kithara approached Mitchell cautiously. Their translator device converted their words into English. "You are from the death world that received." "Our message?" Mitchell nodded. "We got your warning. We came to help." The Kithara leader looked confused. "But why? We are strangers to you. Your people gain nothing from this rescue." Mitchell looked at the alien with genuine surprise. "You asked for help. That's reason enough." News of the Zarian Beta rescue spread quickly through Zephyrian space. For the first time in centuries, someone had struck back at the Empire. Someone had rescued their prisoners and destroyed their ships. The psychological impact was immediate. On worlds throughout Zephyrian territory, enslaved populations began to whisper about the Death World warriors who had come from beyond the stars. Hope, long dead, began to stir again. Torres received reports from intelligence assets throughout the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire was mobilizing its full military might. They were not just angry about the rescue. They were terrified that an enemy they had dismissed as primitive savages had just demonstrated superior technology, tactics, and fighting ability. The galaxy's most feared military force had been humiliated by beings they considered inferior. Torres looked at the star charts showing Zephyrian fleet movements. "They're coming for us with everything they have." She smiled coldly. "Good, let them come." General Patricia Webb stood in the command center at Luna Station, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. The rescue at Zarian Beta had happened 3 weeks ago. Since then, everything had changed. "Another uprising on Vexor Prime," reported Colonel Marcus Williams. "The slave population there has taken control of 2 mining facilities. They're using improvised weapons and guerrilla tactics." Webb nodded as she studied the galactic map. Red dots marked active rebellions on 17 different worlds. All of them had started after news of the human rescue spread through underground networks. "The psychological impact is bigger than we expected," Williams continued. "For centuries, these species believed the Zephyrians were invincible. Now they know someone can fight back and win." Dr. Elena Martinez, now serving as Earth's primary alien liaison, entered the command center with urgent news. "We've received communication from the Galactic Council. They want to meet with human representatives." Webb looked surprised. "The Council has stayed neutral for the entire war. Why do they want to talk now?" Martinez activated a holographic message from the Council's primary representative, a tall, graceful being called Ambassador Thyrol. The translation device converted his words into English. "To the warriors of Earth, the Galactic Council has observed your recent actions with great interest. For 800 years, we have watched the Zephyrian Empire expand across our region of space. We have remained neutral because we believed resistance was impossible. Your demonstration at Zarian Beta suggests we may have been wrong. We request a meeting to discuss mutual cooperation." Webb considered the implications. "If the Council joins us, we could have allies across dozens of star systems. Resources, intelligence, strategic positions. There's more," Martinez said. "I've been in contact with resistance groups on 12 different worlds. They're asking for human military advisors. They want to learn our fighting methods." Williams looked at the tactical displays. "We could teach them basic guerrilla warfare. Most garden world species have the intelligence to learn our tactics, even if they lack our physical advantages." Webb made a decision that would reshape galactic politics. "Approve the Council meeting. Send military advisors to any world that requests them, and prepare for the Zephyrian response. They won't let this spread without fighting back." Captain Tony Martinez, recently promoted after his performance at Zarian Beta, was assigned to lead the first advisory mission. His destination was Altair 7, where a population of crystalline beings had declared independence from Zephyrian rule. The crystal people, called the Veltar, had evolved from silicon-based organisms. They were naturally tough and could survive in environments that would kill most carbon-based life forms. But they had never learned to fight as organized. Military units, Martinez arrived on Altair 7 with a team of 12 human instructors. What he found amazed him. The Veltar had been mining their own planet for Zephyrian benefit for 60 years. Now they were turning their industrial equipment into weapons. "Show me what you've built," Martinez told their leader, a being who called himself Crystal Singer Vex. Vex led the humans to a hidden valley where thousands of Veltar had gathered. They had converted mining lasers into infantry weapons. Construction equipment had been modified into armored vehicles. Most impressively, they had built defensive positions that took advantage of their natural ability to shape crystal formations. "We have the tools," Vex explained through a translation device, "but we do not know how to use them effectively. Our people have never fought as warriors." Martinez spent the next 2 weeks teaching the Veltar basic military tactics. How to move in small units. How to use terrain for cover. How to coordinate attacks and establish defensive perimeters. The Veltar learned quickly. Their natural intelligence and disciplined society made them excellent students. More importantly, they had something most garden world species lacked: a burning desire for revenge against their oppressors. When the Zephyrian fleet arrived to suppress the rebellion, they found something they had never encountered before: an organized, well-trained resistance force using effective military tactics. The battle for Altair 7 lasted 6 days. The Veltar used their knowledge of the planet's crystal caves to launch surprise attacks. They employed hit-and-run tactics that Martinez had taught them. Most importantly, they fought with the determination of people who would rather die than return to slavery. The Zephyrians won the battle, but at a terrible cost. They lost 40% of their assault force. The Veltar resistance escaped into the deep caves, taking their weapons and training with them. News of the battle spread throughout Zephyrian space. A garden world species had actually inflicted serious casualties on Imperial forces. The impossible was becoming possible. Meanwhile, on Earth, preparations for the main Zephyrian assault continued. Admiral Torres had expanded the human fleet to 60 ships. All were converted civilian vessels, but they now carried weapons designed specifically for fighting. Zephyrian technology. Dr. Alex Chain had been working with captured enemy equipment for months. His latest discovery was the most significant yet. "I've found their weakness," Chun told Admiral Torres during a briefing. Zephyrian ships use centralized computer systems to coordinate their weapons and shields. "If we can disrupt their command networks, their entire fleet becomes vulnerable," Torres studied Chun's analysis. "How do we disrupt their networks?" "Simple electromagnetic pulses. The same technology we use to protect our equipment from solar storms. Zephyrian electronics are not hardened against electromagnetic interference because garden world species never developed such weapons." Chun's discovery led to the development of a new human weapon, the EMP torpedo. Small, fast, and designed to disable enemy electronics without destroying the ships completely. The weapon would prove crucial in the coming battle. The Zephyrian response to the spreading rebellions was swift and brutal. Emperor Zephyr himself took command of the largest fleet in Imperial history. Over 3,000 ships assembled in the outer reaches of their territory, preparing for a decisive strike against Earth, but the Emperor made a critical mistake. In his anger over the rebellions and humiliation at Zarian Beta, he authorized the use of biological weapons against human forces. The weapons were designed to target standard galactic biochemistry. They had been tested on dozens of garden world species and proved universally lethal. Emperor Zephyr believed they would eliminate the human threat without risking further fleet losses. When the biological weapons were deployed against human colonies on the outer edges of Earth's territory, they failed completely. Human biochemistry, evolved on a death world with constant biological threats, proved immune to weapons designed for garden world organisms. The failed biological attack had consequences the Emperor never anticipated. It unified Earth's population like nothing before. Every human on the planet now understood that the Zephyrians intended genocide, not conquest. President Collins addressed the combined governments of Earth. "They have tried to murder our species with biological weapons. This is no longer about helping distant allies. This is about human survival? The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every nation on Earth contributed resources to the war effort. Factory workers volunteered for extra shifts. Scientists worked around the clock, developing new weapons. Citizens donated materials for ship construction. Most importantly, military volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Young men and women who had never considered military service suddenly understood that their species faced extinction. Captain Lisa Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral after her reconnaissance mission, was placed in command of Earth's orbital defenses. She had 60 converted ships and over 10,000 trained soldiers. When will they arrive? Rodriguez asked during the final planning meeting. Torres checked the intelligence reports. Imperial fleet is moving toward Earth. Estimated arrival in 72 hours. Webb looked around the room at Earth's military leadership. Gentlemen, we are about to face the largest military force in galactic history. They outnumber us 50 to 1. They have superior technology and centuries of combat experience. She paused, looking each officer in the eye. They also have no idea what they're walking into. We are going to teach them why Earth is classified as a death world. The room fell silent as the magnitude of the coming battle sank in. Humanity's survival depended on the next few days. Outside the windows of Luna Station, Earth hung in space like a blue marble. Peaceful, beautiful, defenseless, but appearances could be deceiving. Earth's children were waiting, and they were ready to show the galaxy what happened when Deathworlders got angry. Admiral Diana Torres stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the largest fleet in galactic history emerge from faster-than-light travel. 3,000 Zephyrian warships appeared in Earth's solar system like a swarm of angry wasps. Each ship was the size of a city block. Together, they carried enough firepower to crack a planet. "Enemy fleet detected at the edge of the system," reported Captain Nicole Foster. "They're maintaining formation and advancing toward Earth." Torres looked at her own fleet of 60 converted civilian ships. The odds were 50 to 1 against humanity. In any normal military engagement, those odds would mean certain defeat. But this was not a normal military engagement. This was humanity defending their home. "Signal all ships," Torres ordered. "Implement Battle Plan Hornet's Nest. Remember, we are not trying to win a fleet engagement. We are buying time for the real battle." The human ships scattered throughout the solar system, taking positions behind asteroids, near space stations, and within the orbital debris fields around Earth's colonies. They would not meet the Zephyrian fleet in open battle. Instead, they would use the tactics that humans had perfected over millennia of warfare: ambush, harassment, and psychological pressure. Emperor Zephyr commanded the invasion fleet from his flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Star Crusher. He had spent months planning this attack, and he expected it to be simple: overwhelm the primitive Deathworlders with superior numbers, capture their planet, and harvest their population. For the Empire's biological research programs, the Emperor opened a communication channel to Earth. "Attention, inhabitants of the Death World. You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make your species suffer for generations." President Collins responded from the White House situation. Room: "Emperor Zephyr, you have committed genocide against peaceful civilizations. You have enslaved millions of innocent beings. You have tried to murder our species with biological weapons. We reject your terms. Come and take our world if you can." The Emperor's response was immediate: "Destroy them all." The Zephyrian fleet advanced toward Earth in the traditional formation that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Massive battleships in the center, surrounded by cruisers and destroyers. It was an impressive display of military might that had terrified every enemy they had ever faced. The first human attack came from behind the asteroid belt. Captain Roy Mitchell's converted mining ship, the UES Freedom, emerged from hiding behind a large asteroid and fired a full spread of EMP torpedoes at the advancing fleet. The electromagnetic pulse weapons struck 12 Zephyrian ships simultaneously. Their centralized computer systems shut down instantly. Weapons went offline, shields collapsed. Life support systems failed. The disabled ships drifted helplessly as their crews struggled to restart their systems. The sight of Imperial vessels floating dead in space shocked the entire Zephyrian fleet. How did they do that? Demanded the Emperor. His technical officers studied the sensor readings. Unknown weapon type, my lord. Some kind of electromagnetic discharge. Our ships are not protected against such attacks. Before the Emperor could respond, more human ships attacked from different directions. The used Justice, commanded by Captain Tony Martinez, struck from near Jupiter's moons. The used Defiance, under Captain Lisa Rodriguez, attacked from the direction of Mars. Each attack disabled more Zephyrian ships and then disappeared back into hiding. The human vessels were too small and fast for the massive Imperial warships to target effectively. They struck like lightning and vanished like ghosts. Admiral Torres watched the battle unfold from her command position near Luna Station. Phase 1 is working. Enemy fleet is slowing down and spreading out to search for our ships. Colonel Sam Harrison, commanding the ground defenses, prepared for the inevitable landing attempt. They'll try to bypass the fleet action and go straight for Earth. That's when the real fight begins. The Emperor, frustrated by the hit-and-run attacks, ordered a direct assault on Earth itself. 200 ships broke away from the main fleet and headed straight for the planet. They planned to land troops and capture Earth cities before the orbital defenses could stop them. The assault ships entered Earth's atmosphere expecting minimal resistance. Garden world species typically had weak planetary defenses because they had never learned to fight effectively in their own environments. They discovered that Earth was not a garden world. The first wave of landing ships was met by surface-to-air missiles fired from hidden installations across the planet. The missiles were not energy weapons or exotic technology. They were simple explosive devices propelled by chemical rockets. But they struck with devastating force against ships designed to resist energy beams. Not kinetic impacts, 60 Zephyrian landing craft were destroyed before they could reach the surface. The survivors found themselves under attack from weapons they had never encountered before. Human fighter aircraft, originally built for atmospheric combat, had been hastily modified for space operations. They moved through Earth's atmosphere with an agility that surprised the alien pilots. More importantly, they carried weapons designed for aerial combat between fast-moving targets. Major Carlos Rivera led a squadron of converted fighter jets against the Zephyrian assault ships. Target their engine systems. These ships are not designed for atmospheric maneuvering. The human fighters swarmed the alien vessels like angry hornets. Their missiles and cannon fire tore through hulls that had been optimized for space combat, not atmospheric operations, but some Zephyrian ships made it to the surface. They landed near major cities and began deploying ground troops for urban combat. The Emperor watched from orbit as his elite soldiers advanced on human population centers. Finally, now we will see how these Deathworlders fight when they cannot run and hide. What he saw next changed his understanding of warfare forever. Human soldiers did not meet the aliens in open battle. Instead, they used the cities themselves as weapons. Buildings became fortresses. Underground tunnels became attack routes. Every street corner became a potential ambush site. Sergeant Marcus Williams led a squad through the sewers beneath New York City, emerging behind Zephyrian positions to attack with captured alien weapons. The enemy soldiers, expecting conventional battlefield tactics, found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to appear and disappear at will. The Zephyrians had trained for combat against garden world species who fought in organized formations using predictable tactics. They had never faced an enemy that treated their own cities as battlegrounds. Captain Jennifer Walsh coordinated civilian evacuations while simultaneously directing military operations. Human civilians, instead of panicking, followed emergency procedures that had been drilled into them since childhood. They moved through underground shelters and evacuation routes with the efficiency of a military unit. The psychological impact on Zephyrian troops was devastating. They had expected terrified civilians and disorganized resistance. Instead, they found an entire population that seemed prepared for war. Dr. Alex Chun monitored the battle from his laboratory, analyzing Zephyrian tactical responses. They're making the same mistake they made at Zarian Beta. They're fighting. It's like we're a Garden World species. General Patricia Webb coordinated the global defense from the Pentagon. Phase 2 is working. Their ground forces are bogged down in urban combat. Time for Phase 3. Webb activated Operation Deathworld, the final phase of Earth's defense plan. Hidden missile silos across the planet opened simultaneously. Hundreds of nuclear-tipped rockets launched toward the Zephyrian fleet in orbit. The nuclear weapons were not intended to destroy the enemy ships. They were designed to create massive electromagnetic pulses that would disable the fleet's electronics across a wide area. Emperor Zephyr watched in horror as his mighty fleet went dark. Ship after ship lost power as the nuclear explosions created electromagnetic storms that overwhelmed their systems. Within minutes, over half of his invasion force was drifting helplessly in space. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species uses such primitive weapons in space combat." His surviving officers looked at him with growing fear. "My lord, should we retreat?" Before the Emperor could answer, Admiral Torres launched the final human counterattack. The 60 ships of Earth's defense fleet emerged from hiding and attacked the disabled Zephyrian vessels with conventional weapons. The battle that followed was not a contest between equals. It was a systematic destruction of an enemy that could not fight back. Human ships moved through the disabled fleet like sharks among helpless fish. Emperor Zephyr found himself trapped aboard a powerless flagship, watching his empire's greatest fleet being torn apart by beings he had dismissed as primitive savages. Captain Rodriguez, commanding the UES Defiance, opened a communication channel to the Imperial flagship. "Emperor Zephyr, your fleet is defeated. Your ground forces are surrounded. Surrender now, and your surviving soldiers will be treated according to the laws of war." The Emperor stared at the human officer on his screen. "Laws of war? You are Deathworld savages. You know nothing of civilized warfare." Rodriguez smiled coldly. "We know enough to offer you terms. That's more mercy than you showed the Cathara."